This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
Yeah.
I want to, a lot of people are talking about the text exchange, and I don't know what to think of it. This is what we have.
Yep.
And look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not trying to go down that road. But it does look weird. And I think a lot of people are feeling like this doesn't look like a text exchange between two 20-some-year-old young men. It doesn't.
No.
Now, could it be? Yes, it could be that simple. And that's what's making this so weird, is to think that it is just so off. And the answer to this really is just, it's not as complex as I think a lot of people would think it would be for the impact that this thing made. That the horrible, horrible impact of the decision this kid made. But I mean, when we read through it, it's bizarre. And I know you've read through it. I've read through it. We've all read through it. I know that we need to go directly line by line. Anyone can go read it. But what was your first impression when you first saw this text exchange between these two people? What did you think?
And I see your comment, rock and rolla, and I know other people said on the conspiracy side of this. So my first impression is it's true. It's accurate.
Okay.
And again, I always gotta, so why? So what's my rationale? Again, the what question, what's my rationale? Believe in that, because to me, his arc of what we saw through his behavior from the 1 week planning of this to the execution of this to thinking that, the cops have moved on and won't find the rifle with a towel around it in the woods, to thinking that he left no evidence as he's climbing off the side of a building. And so there's a lot of data points that said he might have been book smart, intelligent, according to some, but his awareness and life reps were very, very low. I don't think he was a great strategist, because he didn't display great strategy in this. Mm-hmm. And so taking that to the next level of, do I think he's capable and would have pre-thought out a scripted thing to save his partner, who then gave him up like this? I don't think so. It just doesn't. Now, I always say the word maybe, because I am always open to, again, because of the Socratic method, I'm open to dialogue about other people's opinions of it. I'll never rule anything out unless we hear it from him that it wasn't. But it to him to kind of script out this well-crafted thing to try to save his roommate, when he thought he was going to get away with it himself. Remember, he actually says, I thought I would take this to my grave.
I would die of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. You weren't the one who did it, right? I am sorry. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude. I mean, it like reads as the most clear-cut confession letter and explanation of this in history of any sort of horrible event, that just, okay, here's all your answers, everybody. He did it for this reason. He feels this way. He didn't think he was going to get caught. He left the weapon. I think I'm going to go back and get it. I mean, it's insanely stupid. I guess what, and again, sometimes stupidity, inept, incompetency oftentimes does masquerade as conspiracy. It can look very, very similar.
Yeah, we did so much in our cases. That's why I'm like, so this fits a pattern of stupid that we've seen so many times. That's why it's more likely. People love to get, because people were so affected by the assassination, and just that word assassination has a connotation of planning, thought, especially when you take out such a notable figure like a Charlie Kirk or President Trump or
any high profile anything. Yeah.
That requires some sort of high level mastermind that you want it to be, that so it has some meaning. Or that, no, this guy, I think it is he's as plain dumb as a 22-year-old as you're seeing right here. I really think it's that surface. I don't think there's a lot going on here. I said it from the very beginning too, that this, people are calling this a professional hit. No, it wasn't. So think about this. If this was so well planned out and he's trying to protect someone, he's trying to take out Charlie Kirk, why would he have done this with 3,000 people with cell phones looking. Why would he have done it on a school camp? I mean, it just makes no sense.
He seemed to think ahead enough on certain aspects, but then like completely devoid of thought on others, I guess is kind of what gets to me. Where it's, I'm going to change my clothes. Okay, well, it seems like you got some sort of planning going on here where you're thinking a bit ahead of trying not to get caught. But you're literally at a place with all these people with phones. There's cameras everywhere. Of course, something happens like this. It's going to get locked down like that, and people are going to start searching. You can't just necessarily wander out of there with a weapon. So he dumps the weapon and then thinks he's going to go back for. I mean, but again, I hear you completely. Where we feel like
in a video game.
It worked in a video game, and you would think our brains are searching for a bigger meaning behind this, or a bigger planning, or something. Not just this idiot who doesn't really plan shit very well to go out and do something like this. I mean, it's weird. It feels weird.
It feels unfulfilling.
Yes, completely.
But I think it really was. Most of these things are. I mean, 37 hours. Yeah. 37 hours, and it wasn't because you had geniuses all of a sudden started working this case. It's just pretty. I mean, people did what they regularly do when they worked this case. Granted, there's a lot of attention on it, and you had directors and then assistant directors and all the world coming out to try to put on a good face for this and all those things. But it was really a pretty. From my optic, you had 6 law enforcement officers that were university law enforcement that were there for protection. And you had a lot of cell phones. You had a lot of leads coming in, and you worked the case, and bam, this is what happens. He starts seeing his face all over the place. He decides he doesn't want to die. And so he has his parents surrender him. That comes down to someone who's shocked he was caught. And so someone who's shocked he was caught, his pre-thought and plan to save his roommate, who apparently didn't necessarily, and again, I'm using conjecture here. I've never seen any live-in partner give up someone so fast.
I mean, he seems genuinely shocked. Like, you did what?
Yeah, and then spills everything. Cooperating. That's why I think it's part of this whole thing. He's surrounded by a lot of people with a lot of. In that healthy parameter board, realm. That's why this to me, this text message. I mean, his partner seemed as shocked by this as everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay, you're left leaning. His parents say he's left leaning. Okay, that's a lot of people. Okay, a lot of people hate Charlie Kirk. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if he shocked himself by doing this. He seems like he almost shocked himself that he went through with this.
Do you think he had a death wish? Did he think he was going to end up getting shot and this is how he was going to go out? Was there so much just self-hate going on in this guy?
Suicidal ideation is always part of this with a lot of these stuff, but not all. I mean, he had an escape plan. He wanted to get away. Yeah. He's got a suicide vest on now. Again, when you lack purpose in life, you become come see, come on it. I mean, it's literally kind of flippant about your life and the life of others because you're like, what's the purpose? So I think he's kind of riding that edge.
But why leave a note then?
Oh, yeah, fair point.
Yeah, I mean, there's. And look, this is not the first case we talked about where things just don't make a lot of sense. I mean, most cases, most times someone ends up dead. There's some sort of chaos involved and a broken brain and some way of thinking that doesn't add up to the rest of us, which is why someone ends up dead, because somebody was very, very off on their thinking, on their problem solving skills. What does this mean, for the future of events and things of that nature? I mean, obviously we've all lived through 9/11, every single one of us here in many different ways. You were right there. We were in a studio. And then in the years after, we saw security dramatically change in every aspect of our lives. And I got to say, almost 25 years later, it's pretty lax. compared to what we used to be seeing. You know, and in some ways it's like, oh, this feels kind of good. You know, there's not metal detectors every time I walk into a park or something. You know, I remember, you know, there were all those things. I remember going to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and wanting to look at the locks of the boats that were coming through between Canada and the U.S. And there was a park right there, and it's barbed wired, and it's, you know, it's like a fortress. And this used to be just this beautiful little park. And it was like, well, I guess this is kind of how we live today. That's all changed, you know, because, well, time has made a lot of people forget, unfortunately, the lengths as to which we went. And then some could argue maybe we went too far. What does this event mean for the future of security and hardening down really anything, you know, from a Christmas parade to someone making a speech that may be politically charged?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a real big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's the pragmatic side of it is anytime you do an event like this, you have to have an insurance company insure it. And so I don't know what that's going to do to it. That's going to up the cost, and it's going to up requirements for law enforcement presence, security presence, and the requirements for them, which is going to up cost everywhere as everything in life. And so it's going to maybe exacerbate the problem of everyone's having economically, right? Yeah. Or it'll also scare people away from doing these things. And at the other time, though, too, kind of, you know, Robin and us doing the glass half full on this, I'm hoping it's going to encourage people to be curious about how to actually have a civil discourse. So, you know, it's important to do these things. Our progress as a species comes about because we have people that are these, you know, social justice warriors, like the ones I mentioned earlier on. But they had a methodology that was extremely effective. If people are looking for change, there's a way to do it that's really, really effective. And it isn't this. Not one time in the course of our species, did the research on this, has anyone been effective at successfully influencing social justice by assassination? Yeah. Not once.
Nope.
And so hopefully this gets people to really be curious about how to have a great conversation about them, not about yourself. So
yeah, screaming at each other, shooting each other, that doesn't usually fix much of anything. and silencing each other doesn't fix anything either. That's I think very important too in this, because I think that's a scary road that we might be walking down right now.
Yeah.
It is. That and at the end of the day, doesn't seem like what Charlie Kirk was about. He was about conversation. He was about discourse. Agree with him, disagree with him, whatever it may be. It wasn't, you shut the fuck up and we're going to make sure you can't be heard. And unfortunately, it feels like that's what this is being used for.
Just watch. I've watched, because I've seen so many clips of it now. Watch the great conversation between Charlie Kirk and Bill Maher.
Yeah. I think I told you about that. Yeah.
I've seen it so many times. And even between him and Gavin Newsom. I mean, it's really, really good chess. And granted, the Socratic method was not infused throughout it, but there's moments in there. Again, people, this isn't about going from 0 to 100 from, okay, I'm not questioning anything to learning how to question and being curious. No, it was infused. You know, there's a desire to want to. People aren't looking for you to be perfect. They're looking for you to make an effort. They're not looking for anything but effort and a willingness and desire to find out a little bit more about how you think about something. That's it. And so hopefully this starts it down a better path. And to some of these points here, but I'm on that text message, you know, and Stacey, you brought up a great point. Who leaves that if they didn't expect to? I don't know. That was just my initial take on it. Again, just because of the arc I'm seeing from everything else from him and people like him in the past. I don't like giving killers any credit for being smart on anything. So I'm always going to have the negative confirmation bias that they're idiots. They didn't plan anything and they suck.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Great half full glass there, Robin. I like that one.
Very official language.
Yeah, I know. My professional terminology is really off sometimes. Like
I also
they double down on stupid.
Robin has another great one that I've always loved, and it's nutter.
Nutter.
It's another nutter for someone that's crazy. I like that one.
Love it.
Robin, as always, thank you for coming on and talking about what you've witnessed this week and your thoughts. It's always very valuable. I know our audience greatly appreciates it, as do us. So thank you so much. If you're looking for some books over the weekend to read, Robin has quite a few. This is his latest one, Unbreakable Alliances. Check it out wherever books are sold. Sizing People Up and The Code of Trust, all great. If you want to, if you're listening to him going, I'd love to hear more, check those out. They are all excellent reads. Have a great weekend, Robin. I'm sure we'll be texting and figuring out the problems of the world as we always do.
As the four of us solve the problems of the world, at least be inspiring to hopefully people who want to.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.